guys, this is Aditya again. So today I'm gonna be coming up with a very important part of education, something which has always troubled us ever since we've entered university from our HSC or A-level exams. So today I'll be covering the kind of answers you'll have to write or you'll be writing when you are giving exams in your university. It can be applied in both all kinds of universities there in Bangladesh, in your country, and of course in abroad. So basically, there are two key types of questions that we have to write. The first of all is a kind of a general kind of question. For example, what factors make a successful entrepreneur? So when you have such a question where you don't need much of analysis, much of evaluative issues where you can counter the question given. First of all, you have to approach this question with a simple definition as always. I'll be telling you the importance of definition following on, and then I'll be giving an example of such a question, how to answer such a question. So you first start a generate a question with an example, with a definition, where you will be writing the definition of the questions, the keyword in the question. For example, what are the what key factors make a successful entrepreneur? So entrepreneur is the keyword in this question. So then you will have to give definition of entrepreneur and then give an example. For example, Sir Richard Branson, and then you go ahead with writing the factors that make a successful entrepreneur. For example, hard worker, perseverance. It can be creative thinker. So then you, as I said, then you go ahead with these factors. So whenever you do that, make sure to give an example of each of the traits you have written. For example, when you write hard worker, you can write it. For example, entrepreneur has to work for unlimited amounts of time without calculations of how much time to give. Then, for example, perseverance, entrepreneur has to stick to his ideas, stick to his business until it succeeds, and as long as it fails, he can't give up. So whatever happens, make sure to answer a generic question with the definition first, and then go ahead with your points and then give examples with each of the points. The second kind of question are analytical question. This is the part where a lot of us face real struggles, because these questions, by the name of it, analytics, we mean that we have to be a bit in detail when we are writing such a question. For example, to what extent do you agree that a hardworking entrepreneur is the only entrepreneur who can succeed? So as you can see, this question not only touches hardworking as a factor, it goes in depth to tell you, to give you an analysis that what you think. So for this kind of questions, and you have to be a bit more detailed, you have to be a bit more presentable. So when you are to answer analytical questions, as always, as previous question, you have to go first with an example definition. Well, when you talk about the key part of the question, then you go ahead with the points you believe. For example, if the question is, to what extent do you believe hard work is the only factor that determines an entrepreneur? Then you, as I said, then you go ahead with the point and you agree with it. And then this is the part when the question's real value begins to show up. You go for analysis. So now you tell them that no, apart from hard work, there are other factors which determine how successful an entrepreneur can be. For example, the amount of time given, how much relationship he has with his stakeholders, how well he can manage his manpower, his business, his employees. So as you have seen, each question poses different kinds of tricks. So you need to grab the trick in analytical question. The key part of answering an analytical question is finding the clue, finding the space where you can capitalize and give analysis. So it's not a straight question where you can just go ahead, lash out and write your answer. You first give your definition, you make your key points, and then analyze it. Of course, give it the examples, as much examples you can possible, because all throughout an answer you have to give as much as examples as possible, because when you write a point and only talk about its factors, it seems that you have memorized the question, because we've been writing answers for a long period of time, we know. So when you present your answer with an example, it makes it seem that you have prepared yourself well and you have understood the concepts very, very clearly. So when you follow up an answer with examples, it's very, very good for you, and the examiner understands, no, this guy is really good for the job. So that was basically the second part of my of the kind of questions we would like to tackle. Then I would like to sum up our this video, this conversation with a kind of tricks, a kind of general tips and tricks which you must follow prior to an exam. So this goes for theoretical as well as other kinds of analytical, mathematical exams as well. The first thing is when you are studying a theoretical course, for example, you are studying how important good recruitment policy is for a company, you must not memorize the key factors of the question. So that having said that, many of us who probably come from backgrounds not familiar with business, for example, a lot of us we come from arts or humanities, we find it more easier to memorize once we find the question. So we cannot do that because if you've initially started to memorize your questions as soon as you've received your books, then you don't create that inner system within you which promotes that kind of creativity that requires when you write a theoretical question. Because a theoretical question is not a question where you just go out and simply memorize and write stuff. No, you have to understand the concepts, you have to know what factors this question or this topic wants, and then mix your thoughts, mix your understanding with the question when you're writing it. So do not memorize, guys, please. It's a very important part. Please, I would request you do not memorize. Try as much as to be familiar, adhesive to the concept you're reading, because if you somehow manage to understand or stick that thing in your heart for the first time, it will be very useful once time goes on and you understand them very well. So doesn't matter whether it's finance, of course in your mathematical course you cannot memorize stuff, so that's something not considerable in this part. But in theoretical courses, of course, you have to understand, find the deeper value, stick your memory to the key parts of the question. You can, for example, when you read a concept, mark and underline the key parts of that question. Use a highlighter, use a pencil, use a pen, and just mark out the key parts in your answer. Then when you read it for the second time, it will become much easier for you to grasp because your brain then sticks to your books. So do not memorize, just understand and read. It will help you a long way. The second is, as I said previously, give as much examples as possible. Whether it is a 2-mark question, whether it is an 8-mark question, 10-mark question, analytical question, simple straight question asking you to write a concept you've studied. Just remember to give as much examples as possible, as I said before. Then the third point is make notes if you really want to succeed, because unless you are very sharp, unless you are very confident about yourself, without making notes, it will be a very difficult journey for you when you will start to read, because concepts are such that they require a lot of studies. So try to make notes when you read your books, then note them down on your paper and keep them in a separate book apart from your main book. I've seen many people doing their classworks and taking notes on the same page. No, don't do that. Don't make your classworks and your notes on the same book. Have separate books as for each task, so that when you are there for a day before the exam, you can simply open your books, read your stuff, and be ready for the exam. That's it, done. Don't mess up things. Don't complicate things which are not difficult. It's totally simple. You make notes, you read books, and you go for the exam confidently. That's as simple as that. The final thing is try to be as precise to the concepts as possible. Of course, in theoretical question, it's not possible to write or to print exactly your minds out as the question asks. So try to understand the key concepts, as I said before, underline the key parts, know what things are there in a certain concept, tick them, underline them, use a highlighter, use a pencil, use a marker, or whatever you can use. But whatever happens, try to stick to the key concepts in a question. It's very important to be creative, yes. At the same time, you have to know what concepts you're talking about. So be clear about your concepts, be clear about your creativity, and mix them properly. But at the same time, remember, concepts are the key things that will dictate your answer, not the creativity. Because if a question tells you why business analytics is important for supply chain managers today, of course you know the answer, but don't use art there much. You have to first identify the key points, the key issues, the concepts, and then go over with the examples. Because if you make wrong concepts and then give wrong examples, the whole answer will be wrong, right? So make sure to understand your concepts well, write your concepts clearly defined, and then go for the examples. And a final tip I would give you is that write your answers as per the question asked. For example, if you have a question having 5 marks, that will require a different kind of approach to a question having marks, for example, like 10 or 12. So if it's very important in exam to manage your time well. Part of the exam is your time management. No matter how well you studied, how well you are prepared, if you don't manage your time well, then at times it can go out miserably bad for you. So make sure you plan your time before exams, plan your ways before exams, how you're going to approach a question, approach an answer, and then allocate your time as per the question's marks on the side of the question. So when you see a 5 marks, you give your time accordingly. When you see a 10 marks question, you give your time accordingly. So manage your time well and be confident about yourself. I've seen many people having very good preparations but then fumbling in the exam because they feel less confident of them. So no, don't do that. It's just a simple exam. You go out there, you make yourselves ready, and you deliver as much as you can, because in that 1 hour or 2 hour or 3 hours tenure you have in that exam hall, you will have to be at your absolute best to actually deliver the kind of preparations you have. So take your preparations well, make notes, make a lot of examples, be confident, and of course use your creativity to finalize the answer. So that would definitely do the trick. So I hope you have understood our video today, because I will be giving some examples of these things I have explained. So that will be at the end of this video, so you can check it out. And of course you can mail me at thebusinesssearch@gmail.com. You'll have the mail address at the end of the video. So of course you can mail me and we can talk about different concepts you didn't understand. So we can of course explain that. So that will be for today. And one final word is that don't be nervous of the exams, don't be nervous of the things, because when you find that once the exam is over, you will be over with your stuff, you'll feel confident. So feel that, study hard, all the best. Assalamu alaikum.